Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports, covers college football and athletics as well as you could possibly cover it. Joins us now on 365 Sports with Craig and Paul. I'm David Smoak. Dennis, thank you for your time. So here we are, yet another week about to go by, and still all of this might happen. How difficult, why is this so difficult to someone make up their mind, and this is what we're doing now, and this is what we're going to do over the next several years?
Well, and add to that, they're doing it for 2026. This whole upheaval that we're having now has happened fairly late in the process. That press release from the SEC and Big Ten will be 3 weeks old tomorrow. We had the big meeting. What was it? Two days ago or a day ago? Last week in Dallas regarding the structure. And that's ruffled a lot of feathers, the fact that the SEC and Big Ten want 3 AQs each. That's where we are.
Dennis, the AQs for Greg Sankey were a non-starter when the 12-team playoff happened. Why now 3? Is it because I guess maybe they asked for 4, but is it because the Big Ten kind of wanted this and this is where you kind of settle on it? Because to me, having any automatic qualifiers prevents him from total world domination because you have to share with the other leagues automatically now.
I think, this is just my opinion, I think Tony Petitti in the Big Ten is the expansion guy, and Sankey is the money guy. So they're, that in this next meeting, whenever it is, whether in person or by Zoom, they're going to try to refine this. That, again, they want 3 each. And yes, I get the point that that three AQs, if you didn't have any AQs, you'd probably have as many or more in the field. This is just an opinion. I don't think they trust the selection committee. I think they want to lock those teams down after what the selection committee pulled off. They see let's say a Big Ten team playing a tough schedule, non-conference schedule, goes 9-3, and there's a 10-2 team out there for a spot, not necessarily an AQ spot, and you're leaving it up to selection committees to make that pick. Well, the Big Ten thinks it should get that pick every time because of the AQ status. I think that has at least something to do with it.
Dennis, you wrote the article yesterday behind the inevitability of the Big Ten and SEC gaining access, revenue power in the CFP. Can you just kind of dive into that a little bit? Because I think we are already, but what does this inevitably turn into ultimately? Like, I know that everybody wants to rush to the end goal and not necessarily we have all the answers just yet, but, I mean, what are we talking about? How much is enough to where, all right, you guys can play too?
I didn't think they wanted to break away until last night. I read in that ESPN story, buried in the ESPN stories about the structure that we're talking about right now. Oh, by the way, the SEC and Big Ten are thinking about leaving the NCAA, and here's a quote to support it. I mean, that was the news last night, and no one really picked up on it. I mean, to me, that's a separate story. If that's true, and they had a quote to support it. I mean, they are game planning for, it looks like to me, again, they are game planning that if the other folks don't go with this, that they have the means and the ability to leave the NCAA. Now, it could be interpreted as nothing more than a shot across the bow, that we will go to these extremes to do it. I think it'll get done. Obviously, the Big Ten and SEC are in favor of it. I think the Big 12 is in favor of it, because think about it, guys. In the 12-team structure, they're assured of nothing. You got to finish in the top 5 ranked conference champions to have an assured spot. In 14, you have 2 spots every year. Go all the way to the bank with that. So then it just becomes a question of what does the ACC think? What does the group of 5 think? And what is the voting structure? I had in that story, I asked specific questions. We know through the next 2 years, it has to be unanimous. We've gone through that with Kirk Schultz. Okay, this is 26. What's the voting structure? What's the governance? I was told cut to the chase, basically whatever the Big Ten and SEC want.
Dennis, do you believe Greg Sankey or Tony Petitti when they say they care about the ecosystem of college football?
I don't even know what that means. Frankly, I mean, all these buzzwords. We're going to socialize it with our conference ecosystem. I think they care about it. I also think they care about their conferences first, and getting what they want. I mean, look, this all goes back, and it's in the story. This all goes back to the moment realignment assured that every rivalry that matters, not the team necessarily, but every rivalry that matters is now in those 34 schools. And there's exceptions, maybe Florida State, Clemson, Miami, something like that. But that's it, guys. And when you have that, you have power.
Damn, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned that, but I didn't. I guess I didn't grab onto that the way. Yeah, there's maybe a handful of others, but not a very large hand.
There was. Let me clarify that. In late December, it came clear to me in late December, or late 2020, Bert Magnuson at ESPN was the vice president, I think, of programming. Very powerful guy, great guy. He said on a podcast, it's not about markets, it's not about brands so much as rivalry. And the more time went on, the more I figured that out. What happened in July 2021? Well, the SEC got the Texas-Oklahoma rival. What happened in the next summer? Fox got, the Big Ten got USC, UCLA, and Oregon, Washington eventually. So it was, but guys, that's it. I mean, when you have those 34 schools and the rivalries that are in there, you pretty much control everything because you control televisions and ratings.
How much do you think Jim Phillips is kicking himself for A, the alliance, which was a dumb thing in the first place, and B, what's going on within his conference right now, in which, like, he really, Florida State's leaving. They're leaving.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of when and how much. And then that puts, the Florida State rivalry within that container. Yeah, exactly. So then you got more that would follow.
Well, there's two questions there. Greg Sankey never misses out a chance to take a shot at the alliance. And I would counter what's holding up things now. It's the Big Ten and SEC, but that is what it is. It'll resolve itself. The Florida State thing is very interesting. I had a discussion Monday night with a TV executive, and he said right now there's no place for them to go. They could buy their way out, but he didn't think they'd be on the top. Obviously, not the top choice of the SEC or the Big Ten because they don't bring value. It's called pro rata, the Latin term meaning equal value. They don't bring equal value. They don't bring $60 million to the SEC. They don't bring $75 million to the Big Ten. So what does that mean? Would they go? I suppose they'd go for half a share. Hell, SMU went for no money to the ACC for the next 9 years. So I guess they go. But this person said, I think they might go in the Big 12. Now, look, this could all change tomorrow. But I thought that from the beginning, that look what Florida State's done to get out of the ACC. Do you want that in your league if you're the Big Ten? Do you want that, theater, the political theater that's televising their board meetings, sending out notices, it's on YouTube and banging trash can lids all over the place? I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying they won't end up there. I'm just saying it might be a thing. And at the bottom of all this, none of these networks want to spend one more dime on this after what they've been through. Look what they've been through in realignment. They don't want to spend more money. But I don't know about Florida State. I guess that's my answer.
Dennis, do you believe that that they can separate and that they would also continue to have the same ratings? And I know those are all, 63%, I think your article says, of the alpha rivalries or whatever BCS spots. Do you really think if they were to break away to 30-plus or so, that would work? Would they lose some college football fans in the end? I
was told they could double their money.
Wow.
I can't prove that. but a colleague told me that yesterday. He's been researching stuff that they would double their money. Because think about this. It makes sense because, and I've said this all along, when in the old days, when you bought the Big 12, you were buying Texas, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
You had to show everything else. But you had Texas, Oklahoma. When you had the ACC, you had maybe 3 Carolina Duke games per year. You had to show Virginia and Wake Forest, but you got that. That was yours. Now think about that. Realignment is another word that goes with it, consolidation. And I just talked about that with all those rivalries.
Right.
If you got those all in one place and you own them, whoever owns them, I don't know, maybe the NFL comes in and they're a part. That's something. That's something, guys. That's more than having to buy all the chaff to get to the goal.
You almost wish the Big 12, Wheelmark, and I'm sure Phillips or whatever, and they would have to have big ones to just say, all right, let's see you do it. I mean, because this just lingers and lingers and lingers, and just tell us where we're supposed to be. What's the end line? But by God, we're not going to just give in to everything. Do it, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's going to work out. I don't think it's going to go. I thought that was very weird last night because that was just dropped in there. It was almost like a message to the other schools. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do think it's going to get worked out because they started to dig down on the money, on the revenue distribution, and that's obviously going to be huge. You can make a lot of people happy with money. Since the BCS started, 1998, the group of 5 has been basically given enough money so they wouldn't sue for antitrust. And that'll happen here again if this goes down. That's what they're trying to do now. It's just that it's been subdivided. There were equal shares in the CFP with the Power 5. There's no more Power 5 anymore. There's a Super 2, as I call it. And they want a weighted share. That's what we're talking about.
Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports, with us on 365 Sports. Dennis, a question or two more, and we do, as always, appreciate your time. Craig?
Dennis, obviously there's the ACC schools that are sitting out there that would be of potentially some interest for the SEC and the Big Ten, but what is the appetite to, let's say, go pick off a Kansas and just go ahead and just deal the fell swoop and grab every brand that's got any sort of value whatsoever? I mean, just in terms of even further expansion for those two, do you feel like it's just a matter of what happens with the Noles and a couple of those teams, or is it like there's still more territory out there to conquer that we're just not even thinking about yet?
Well, there's a law of diminishing returns that has to apply at some point. In other words, too much, some is good, more is better. Too much is too much. Just what we're going through right now. They haven't even played a season of a 12-team playoff, and they're already mapping out 4 teams.
Right.
I think the presidents, I think the presidents in the SEC and Big Ten let's just wait a few years and see how this goes. Again, Florida State can buy its way out, but it has to have a place to go. Now, the question is, if they do get out, that's destabilizing the ACC because there are more valuable brands in that league, and then they'll have a blueprint on it how they get out. There'll be a dollar figure there. The number one brand in the ACC that's available is North Carolina. Just for a lot of reasons. Basketball, they're one of the Jumpman Nike brand ambassadors, one of the leading Nike brand ambassador schools. I don't want to say much bigger than Florida State, that's for sure. Virginia is desired. Jim Delaney years ago tried to get Virginia, North Carolina, and Georgia Tech, of all people. Georgia Tech because of the Atlanta market. In the ACC, and he had to settle for Rutgers in Maryland. But no, there's a rush to get out of that league, and I guess at that point you just have to accommodate those schools. You can't if you're one of those leagues I just mentioned, you can't let North Carolina get away. I mean, that would be a bidding war right there.
Last thing, do you feel like they'll have an answer for at least 2024 and how it's set up and how people qualify or not by the time the NCAA men's basketball tournament starts?
Yeah, I think so. I'm led to believe they're really under a hot deadline. ESPN's leaning on them to get this done. They want cost certainty. They want to know. They want to know what they're showing and what they're bidding on. So yeah, I do. I would say maybe as early as the middle of next week. But the tournament begins, what, the 18th or something like that. So, yeah, I think it'll be done by then.
Thank you, Dennis. Enjoy the rest of covering this everyday change in college athletics. Dennis Dodd with a great article, Behind the Inevitability of the Big Ten and SEC Gaining Access, Revenue, Power in College Football Playoff. The note that he made, and Greg Wrubell from BYU